I want to talk a little bit about what the future holds and innovation in general. So as the field of extracellular vesicle-based therapies continue to evolve, the next few years will certainly be critical. So I'd love to hear from you in the next, handful of years, 3 to 5 years or so. What will be the biggest drivers of success or failure for EV-based therapeutics, whether that be from a scientific perspective, regulatory perspective, commercial, you tell us.
Yeah, so certainly we've touched on it a lot. Breakthroughs in manufacturing are important. In CMC, those are going to be important. I think getting the first 1 or 2 through regulatory authorities, US or Europe or elsewhere, is going to be important for paving the way. And once you get that first product or 2 in there, it's much easier to get the others through the pipeline. I actually see one of the questions that was asked. I just noticed that what would be some of the pros and cons of exosomes versus LNPs or viral approaches, and I'm not going to completely answer that question with this answer, but one of the things that is a bit challenging, or more challenging, with the regulatory authorities is gene therapy, viral-based gene therapies. There's a lot more sort of post-market follow-up and registry type studies, and much more stringent safety profiling and even handling of so in our case, the Crystal Biotech product, which is the gene therapy, has the restriction that the bandages need to be isolated and picked up by another entity, because they contain a herpes virus vector with the COL7 gene. And while the herpes virus vector is not harmful, it's a very safe vector that they've developed, the FDA doesn't have comfort with what happens if one of us in our normal COL7 state gets a bunch of extra COL7 based on having exposure to this, because these caregivers are very intimately involved with the care of the patients. It might be just an abundance of caution, just a hypothetical risk, but it still causes behaviors that with EVs there's none of that. That's just basically a cell-based therapy, even though it's not cells itself. And the regulatory agencies are really not very, they're not very on edge about it. They're pretty easy to do that. And the same I would say for LNPs, particularly with gene editing approaches. I know less about them with other reasons to use LNPs, but there are a lot of guidance documents have very uncharacteristically come out quickly because of the COVID-19 pandemic and the need to pump information through very quickly and get very clear guidances fast out of, and so the agency really came together and did that. So we have quite a bit of roadmap around that, and it's quite a bit more around, say, LNPs and using that for gene editing. And there's a lot more strict safety questions than there are with exosomes. So I think they're quite safe and just an easier path through than some of these other modalities, which are also very good modalities. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm just saying that regulatory path is easier with exosomes.